consistently crush their sales numbers. Every month they're basically anxiously waiting to see if their numbers have come in or if they haven't come in and what they're going to do. Many of them want to develop high performance teams but are just not sure how to do it. They've also said they feel like they're constantly pushing their sales team to perform. If this sounds like you, and it may sound like many of you, one or a number of those issues, and if you're open to learning and applying new concepts, I'm telling you, you're in the right place. And I'm ready to get started. So there's some really exciting stuff that I'm stoked to share with you guys. And I'm going to try to move quickly and provide some very actionable content. So all I can ask is that you guys are ready to take notes and you have your workbook, pen and paper in front of you, because I do want to move quickly. And if I'm moving too quickly, just let me know as well. So on the agenda today, I'm going to cover off my own personal leadership journey. And it's not going to go back to grade 1, but it's going to start when I moved into sales. And hopefully it'll help illustrate what I've been through, and many of you will probably be able to relate to that. I want to share with you the latest research and some really cool research on performance, and especially sales performance. I also want to share with you, and maybe you're doing some of these things, but what traditional sales leaders are doing and what they're getting stuck doing that's not helping them move forward. And I also want to share with you my 5 strategies that real innovative sales leaders are using to crush their sales numbers month in and month out. And for those of you who say, hey Stephen, I want to learn more, well, at the end of the session, I'm going to provide you with a special offer and really an opportunity to really take your game to the next level. And at the end, we'll leave plenty of time for questions and answers, and I'm prepared to stay on the line until we answer all your questions. Well, this is a bit about me. You know, you've signed up, you know, a bit about me, and really some people have said, or they haven't said, but they thought, well, Stephen, why should I trust you? Okay, and I've thought about that, and all I can share with you is I've helped hundreds of sales leaders over the last 13 years break through and become great sales leaders. I've also, and I'll share with you, have been in the trenches, I've led the troops, and anything I share with you today, I've not only done, but I continue to do in my work with various sales managers. In 2003, I really had a life-altering event. I was vice president of sales of a very dynamic organization and experienced clinical depression. And because of that depression, I decided that I no longer want to work in industry, that for some reason the challenges were too immense. But what I wanted to do was help sales leaders like myself succeed. And I've dedicated myself over the last 13 years to do so. So in 2003, I founded Star Results. Over the last 25 years, I've been a study in the area of sales leadership. And recently, I've been recognized as one of the top 50 sales influencers for the last 4 years. My blog, the Sales Management blog, which you're welcome to sign up for, has been recognized as one of the top 50 sales and marketing blogs in the world. And my book, 52 Sales Management Tips, which offers some short, sharp tips how to be a successful sales manager, has been recognized as one of the top books from a variety of different areas. Yet, the stuff that I'm most proud of is the work I do individually with sales leaders, just like you, who want to drive more performance and develop world-class sales teams. So what I'd like to do now is just make sure we're all on the same page and see where you guys are at. So we're going to throw up a poll here in just a moment. And the question is, do motivated reps perform better and drive more sales? And you've got 3 answers, yes, no, or you're really not sure. So let's throw it up there. And we're going to launch. Here we go. So please click on the response that you feel most appropriate to the question. Do motivated sales reps, will they drive better performance and better sales? Okay, the answers are coming in clear. So we have about 3/4 of you who have voted. I'll leave another few seconds for folks who haven't and still want to put their vote in. Okay, so let's close it up. 3, 2, 1, we'll close it up. And I want to share the results with you. And overwhelmingly, what we've heard from the group here is that 93% agree that motivated sales reps will drive better performance and drive more sales as a result. A few of you are unsure, and let's talk about it through the course of the webinar. Okay, so let's remember 93% believe that motivation is the key to driving more sales. So what I want to share with you, as I mentioned, and I'll come back to this in and out of it over the course of the webinar, my personal leadership journey. And my journey started in 1992. Actually, it started in 1990 when I took my first sales job. And my first year I did really well. Second year, I was fortunate enough to win Sales Rep of the Year in 1991. And in 1992, interestingly enough, I got promoted to Sales Manager. And interestingly enough, as many of you have found, and I've continued to find, is I did not get any training or coaching when I was thrown into my role, but because I was a top rep, hey, let's move Stephen into a regional sales manager role. And I thought I was hot shit. Really, I was top rep of the year, and I took an approach, which we'll talk about, of being very directive and dictatorial, and I used the stick for positional power and to motivate my people. I'll go through 2001, 2005, and where I am today. So I took the Donald Trump approach, and I'm not just putting this up because of the election, but I've actually used this as an example of the my way or highway approach for the last 4 or 5 years. Okay, and what I had by taking the Donald approach, and you can probably guess where I'm going here, is I had a mutiny on the bounty, which means one of my reps quit, others were disgruntled. They went to my boss complaining about Stephen, and I learned the hard way that the Donald style of leadership fails to engage salespeople. And sales leaders who continue to use this approach find that turnover is out of control, they're having trouble retaining and keeping people. Well, and I'm just going to zoom forward in light speed and take you to 2001, where I moved from my first company to a VP of sales at a dynamic pharmaceutical company. And over my 3 years there, just to give you some background, we tripled sales, going from $70 million to $221 million. And I had, and for no lie, the best bonus plan in the industry. We had accelerated payouts. We had stock options. And our top 20% really benefited from all those. And our top 10% went on a trip. I mean, they had all the goodies that you can expect in sales. And needless to say, my team was highly motivated. And I have to say, from a personal perspective, I really liked what I call pay for performance approach. Reps are paid to perform. And you can see this picture illustrates that. You know, personally, I can see it forms a very clear link between rewards and results. And it's fair. If you're a top performer, well, you get paid the top. And, you know, it did work in many ways. It encouraged my salespeople to get better, improving their performance, improving their productivity. But here was the major challenge. I was locked into a vicious cycle of having to up the ante each and every year to get performance. And actually, 2 years in, if you remember the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which was enacted to prevent companies from using stock options so liberally as rewards. And I had to stop giving those to my sales reps. At the end of that year, we lost exclusivity of one of our key products. And those of you who know the pharmaceutical industry, once a product goes generic, most of your sales get depleted very quickly. So we went out, we licensed in a new replacement product, but the challenge was it came at a substantially lower margin. I could no longer reward our sales reps with stock options, high bonus potential, and guess what? Our sales team was up in arms. They felt entitled to earn big bonuses. That was the reality. But we just didn't have the money to pay it out. So, you know, we had a problem. And the problem was pay for performance works well in the short term, but it's not sustainable in the long term. So I want to get your insight again on the question. Do greater rewards equal better performance? Yes, no, or maybe you're not sure. So I'd like to get everyone's input on that, and then we'll move forward. Okay, a lot of them are coming in. Interesting results here. Okay, about 3/4 of you have voted. I'll give you another few seconds if anyone else wants to put their thoughts in. Yes, no, maybe so. That greater rewards, the greater the rewards, the greater the performance. Okay, let's close it up. And I'm going to share the results with you. So this is actually an incredible split, which just happened the last second, but there's a pretty even split here. I'd almost say 50-50, but it's 40-40-20, which really is quite insightful. So let's talk about, I want to spend some time talking about the concept of rewards and performance. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to share some of the real cool research we've had in this area. And in 2005, some really high-key groups, one, the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, wanted to know what was the link between rewards and performance. So they went out and engaged one of the top universities in the US and some other major institutions to answer the question. And they enlisted students from MIT, which we know are some of the brightest minds in the world. And the students were asked to play a number of games. And the games offered different levels of reward based on how well the students did. And that's very short in a nutshell. But what did the research show from this study? One, when there's a simple task, okay, simple sales task, an order taker, bonuses and rewards lead to better performance, okay? So if you're in a simple model where you have simple sales, maybe it's order taking, maybe it's simple inside sales, hey, bonuses and rewards work great. But what they found is if the task or the sale was more complex, larger rewards led to poorer performance, okay? And this is a major study done by, not a Mickey Mouse group, it's the federal government. There's tons of viability there. Another study, which I have quoted the link below, was done by the London School of Economics. And they looked at 51 financial incentive programs. And what they found was that plans with financial incentives result in a negative impact on overall performance. So these two studies line up. And what they've really done is they've busted the myth, and I guess it wasn't a myth because pretty much half of us didn't believe it, that better rewards lead to better performance. So imagine yourself being a VP of sales, which I was, and going to a meeting dressed like this. Well, this in many cases, if you're getting up there and rah-rahing the rewards, is what you're doing. Because the research shows us that traditional sales leadership approaches are not giving us the results we need. The research has shown, that higher rewards don't lead to better performance. Yet many sales leaders are showing up and see no need to change what they're doing because they don't know what to do. And I don't want to leave you behind where there's this great mismatch of what you're saying and what actually works. So let's move forward. Stephen Covey puts it in a great way. Motivation, I'll read this to you, is a fire from within. If someone else tries to light that fire under you, chances are it'll burn very briefly. So what Stephen's saying is it's really about internal motivation. If someone tries to push you, pull you with rewards, it'll work, but not for very long. So the question I ask is why, as sales leaders, anytime sales are down, the answer is we're going to throw more money at it. We're burning our money away, and we're not solving the problem. Well, here's the answer. If you're looking to understand how to light the fire from within, well, research shows clearly that coaching helps in a number of areas. It improves engagement. We've had high levels of engagement where people are coached. It reduces turnover, mainly because you're actually connecting with your salespeople. And coaching significantly improves performance. And unfortunately, many of the frontline managers out there are not really good coaches. So I'm not saying incentives don't work. They're good. But when you add coaching, your performance gets much better. And coaching is hard, right? The challenge is many managers either can't because they haven't learned how or know how, or they don't coach because they're too busy. The other challenge is coaching is a difficult skill to master. It takes a lot of time. But if you're able to take your incentives and add coaching on, think what you can do as a sales organization or as a frontline sales manager. So I fast forward my leadership journey to 2005. We went from 2001 to 2005. And in 2005, I really learned the power of not taking the approach of trying to lead with fear, offering unsustainable incentives. And I know they both work to some degree, but they won't work consistently. And maybe you're still here. And maybe you really want to try to become a great coach. It doesn't really matter. The fact is, I'm going to take the time today and really get into my 5 steps to help you transform, become a better sales coach, and help you crush your sales numbers. So here we go. Whoops. Okay, I skipped ahead here, and I wanted to actually, before I get into that, is just to share with you why coaching works. And coaching is really about, we talk about internal motivators. Well, it's all about the me. What motivates me? And if we look at the 4 things that are involved in coaching, it's about self-determination, building competencies, setting meaningful goals, and progress. All of these are centered around what motivates individuals. So I really do want to help you make the transition. And let's get into the 5 steps and look at, as we spoke to earlier on in the agenda, what traditional sales leaders are stuck doing. And again, I said it doesn't matter if you're there, because I'm going to help you move forward and move from, what I call directing for performance or paying for performance to coaching for performance. So the old way of doing things is, and maybe some of you still do it, I know I do it because it's easy to do, is we tell our sales reps what to do. The new sales leader goes about asking, Stephen, how are you going to do this? The old sales leader, or the traditional approach, you become very judgmental. Why didn't you do this? As opposed to being curious, okay, you haven't done this, what's the biggest challenge? Many old sales managers want to be super reps. They want to close the sale, they want to drive things, where the new way is really getting your people to self-evaluate. And as a manager, you need to start listening as opposed to speaking. And it takes a very self-aware coach to be able to move there. So the first step in getting there is moving away from telling people what to do. Nobody wants to be told what to do. I'm sure many of you, if your spouse says, hey, Stephen, take out the garbage, you think, oh my God, why is she telling me that? Or vice versa. So the bottom line is, in this day and age, nobody wants to be told what to do, especially millennials. So here's how it looks and feels when you're telling and when you're asking people. Telling feels like your boss has got a megaphone on and he's yelling at you. Look at this poor woman. Oh my God, what's he saying? And in most cases, you're just saying, why didn't you do this? But it feels like yelling. As opposed to, what I recommend is, how are you doing with this? The old boss says, you should do this, with that deep voice. It sounds like they're yelling. Where the coach says, what are you going to do about this? What are your thoughts? Where are you going? And again, the old coach is, do this. They're telling. And the coaching sales leader says, what do you think you should do? Where do you think you need to go? So it's really about moving away from this telling approach, which doesn't feel very good and doesn't actually result in anything but a headache, to a more collaborative coaching approach to move your salespeople. Step 2, one of the ways that you can get better salespeople is that they need to be self-aware. And the self-aware person knows what they do really well and knows what they don't do very well. And they're very easy to coach. And if you think about it, you may be out with, if you're a really good sales manager, you may be out with your rep 2 times a month. What do they do the other 18 working days in a month without you? You want them starting to think like you. So the old way, just to describe, is you create a to-do list. Do this, do that, do that. The new way is ask the sales reps, how are you doing and what do you think you need to work on? The old way, tell the rep what they should do, right? Just do it. You want to ask questions to create self-awareness. What's the challenge here? What are you thinking? I had many bosses, and you may have bosses who read a book and they start to coach to flavor of the month. Okay? Or they tend to focus on things that they've read about. Or they only give you feedback and don't really listen or ask you questions. The new age coach is really about getting your people to become self-managers by asking themselves the same questions they know you would ask. So you want to move them from a self-aware to a self-manager to a self-coach. So every time they come out of the sales call, they're asking themselves the right questions. How did I do? How can I do better? Step number 3, and I see this happen in business really on a frequent basis, not only in leadership or sales leadership, but in many other areas. The old style is, we're going to focus on these 10 things, guys, and we're going to do them really well. The new way for me, no one can change 10 things. So if you're asking me to get better in 10 areas, I'm not going to get better in any area. The key is focusing on 1 or 2 key areas. It's not about telling the rep, okay, you need to focus on these 1 or 2 areas. It's about letting them determine what they're going to focus on. Okay? And again, this is kind of around the thinking of flavor of the month. Some managers go out with you, and one day you need to be better at asking questions. The next day you got to be better on closing. For me, it's about sticking to those 1 or 2 items and working with the rep to help them get better over a 6-month period until they can master the skills that they're working on in that specific time. Otherwise, you're doing a lot of things, but you're not moving the needle in terms of learning and improvement. Step number 4, and this is one of the critical steps, because not only do people not want to change, but if you tell them to change, they're not going to. So it's about gaining commitment. Just like in sales, we want to gain commitment from customers. So what does this look like from a sales leadership perspective? Well, the old way, and I know many folks who I coached do this, or they used to do this. They write the plan for the rep. Okay, Stephen, you're going to work on closing skills. This is what I think you need to do. That doesn't work. I get the rep to build the plan, and the manager leader facilitates the process. In the old way, you set the timelines. Okay, I need it done by Friday. In the new approach is, when do you think you can get it done? And usually people will put more aggressive dates than you would put anyways. And then it's the how. How are you going to get there? And most people, maybe they can figure out what they want to work on, what they have to improve. Always the how is the most difficult. And in many cases, the managers will jump in and say, well, if you do A, B, and C, you're going to get there. Well, I don't believe that. I believe in empowering your sales rep to really focus in and for them to build the plan. So there's a couple things that happen when you have someone build their own plan. Number 1, they have to think it through. So there's a process of crystallizing the thought in your head. And by putting pen to paper, there's a power, just like we do in a contract, of gaining a commitment. If you put the pen to paper, it doesn't form that same level of commitment. Step number 5, and this is really where the power of coaching comes in. Okay? It's about holding your people accountable. In so many organizations, if you ask managers, they say, we need to improve accountability here. Well, it starts with you as the frontline manager. And the old way is, if we've done all 4 steps and we forget to follow up with the rep the next time we're with them and say, how has it gone with ABC? It dies, because people respect what you inspect. And I'll talk a bit about that later, where the power of accountability comes in. But the new way is about holding your people accountable. It's not being about punitive, but saying, hey, you said you're going to do this? Well, I'm going to circle back. Where in the old days, the old ways is we forget to circle back. So, we review commitments. If someone is off track, in the old days, it's, why are you off track? Which is really about blaming and being judgmental. as opposed to being positive. Okay, Stephen, you've missed on this. Is it still important? And how do you get it back on track? When are you committed to doing it? So it's a different feel when you're coaching and holding people accountable. It does not, as I said, have to be in any way, shape, or form
Hey guys, I hear you guys here saying you lost audio. So let's figure out what's going on. Can you guys hear my voice here at the moment? James, Eric, Chelsea, Robert, appreciate the message. For everybody else here, I apologize for the inconvenience. Awesome. So you guys are here. So let me shoot Stephen a message right now. Actually, I'm just going to give him a phone call. In fact, let me give him a phone call. So just bear with me, guys. I apologize for the inconvenience. This is
those reps accountable.
Perfect. All right, Stephen, glad you came back on.
Yes.
You have disappeared for the past 45 seconds. You have come back in, but you may want to rewind for the past 45 seconds. Everybody else, I apologize for the inconvenience. Glad you guys are still here. And Stephen, glad you got back online, brother.
Okay, I don't know what happened. Everything looked good on my end. So what I'll do, let me go back 2 steps here.
Perfect.
And Anthony, maybe you can just give me some feedback. Were you able to see this slide, step number 5?
Yes, we were here on step number 5.
Everyone has seen this, so I'm going to summarize. Okay, as I did. Anyways, I was wondering what happened. So just to summarize the 5 steps that I just shared with you to really coaching for performance, which is the way to ignite your people. And as we all agreed in our first poll, that motivated reps are going to perform better and deliver better numbers. So here are the 5 steps, moving from telling people what to do to asking. Okay. Number 2, making your people self-aware so they can ask themselves the same questions when they're out there and you're not with them. Okay, because you want them to be self-coaching. You're only there with them maybe 1 out of 20 days in a month. Number 3, focus, focus, focus. Do not try to do too much when you're working on developing your people. 1 or 2 areas is key for success. Accountability, well, before accountability is commitment. The only way people are going to change, and it's hard to change, is if you gain a commitment from them. And again, I'll cover these 5 off in a very different way on the next slide. And holding your sales reps accountable. If we don't do that, then all the work we've done goes to waste. So here's a great study that really hit home for me when I first saw it. And it's done by the American Society of Training and Development. And it looked at the likelihood that change will happen towards achieving a specific goal. So if I've committed, let's say I set a goal, not committed, but let's say I set a goal to improving my coaching skills. So Stephen said improving your coaching skills is good. So if you hear this, you think, or the reality is there's only a 10% chance of it happening. If you say, hey, you know what, I really do want to be a better coach, the chances of being a better coach is 25%. If you decide and put a timestamp to it, it improves to 40%. Okay? We talked about writing a plan, and the value of writing a plan increases the likelihood of actually achieving that goal or that specific development area 5-fold from just hearing the idea. And then if you commit to someone else, maybe your spouse, maybe a colleague, maybe your boss, maybe your coach, saying, hey, you know what, this is what I'm going to do, I've written it down, it increases to 65%. But the power of coaching, and this is why coaching is so effective, if you know that you have an appointment with the person you committed to and they're going to hold you accountable, there's a 95% chance of you achieving that specific goal or commitment. That is where the power of coaching comes in. Okay? And each of my steps that I've taken you through help move the person forward in terms of really optimizing the likelihood of helping them develop and become better. So let's summarize here. And what we've done is I've shared some really cool research that I find groundbreaking about rewards and performance. I think you knew this before we started our webinar, but we know that coaching works. And now maybe you know a little bit better why coaching works, because it focuses on internal motivators such as improving, getting better. And you've also learned my 5 steps to becoming a great coach. And that really brings us to what I call the proverbial fork in the road. And at this point, really you have 2 choices. Number 1 is you may want to continue to worry about achieving your numbers every month, looking at the results, seeing what's going on. You may want to continue to push your people to perform, or are you ready to take your leadership to the next step? If you decide, hey, you know what, Stephen, I'm okay. I've learned some stuff today and I'm going to take it away, but other than that, I'm probably not going to do very much. I'm going to wait for my company to say, hey, we're delivering a workshop for you, probably a 1 to 2 day workshop, which we know, and I know, doesn't work. And maybe you're going to continue to worry about achieving your numbers every month, but you're okay. The other choice is, I want to learn more. And you've got a lot of approaches to take. Okay, and there's really a new way. It's a new world out there where you can certainly go out and seek resources to help you improve and get better. You need to take control of your career, which new people are doing because they know companies, they move from company to company. And you've got to look at development not as this 1 to 2 day workshop, which a lot of people are still locked in that, but looking at it as an ongoing basis, continual reading, continually educating yourself. And then you put yourself in a position where you crush your sales numbers. Okay, it's really your choice. I know many folks, who I work with who may have lost their jobs, or who come to me once they lost their jobs, and then they go to an employer and the employer says, well, Stephen, what have you done in the last year or 2 years to develop yourself? And if you have this blank look in your eyes, well, chances are you're not going to get the job. So my message to sales managers, and we just got off our 2006 Star Sales Leadership report, and it says that 50% of companies are not doing any development or ongoing development to support their sales managers. Okay, that is a catastrophe. And I'm sure out of the 100 people sitting out there, that 50 of you are not getting any support in terms of development. So that leads me to a place that I want to share with you something really exciting. It's my proven corporate sales management program, and it's revolutionary in how we're able to transform sales managers into great coaches. And really, I've asked sales managers who've thought about it, isn't it time that you start to crush your sales numbers month over month? What if you can be a top performing sales manager within the next 6 months? And really, we've done it in a way that you don't have to miss a day in the field, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on training, or wait for your company to roll out a new program. And this is why, after tons of research, I've created the Star Sales Manager Development Program. It's a revolutionary approach where I teach my proven 5-step process so you become a highly effective coach quickly. You start developing your people and you start crushing your numbers month after month. Really, it's up to you to lead your team, but I can guarantee you, if you follow my 5-step process, your team will work together. We've seen teams become more engaged, and you'll hit your numbers each month. What we do is we support you on an ongoing basis. It's not a hit and run. And we help you work through our system to master it. Again, I was mentioning many sales managers I speak with are working harder than they've done before. They're putting in more hours, and they feel like they're constantly fighting an uphill battle to hit quotas. The problem is that many of them see themselves as a super rep, as a firefighter, and not many of them are coaching their salespeople to be more effective. And after training many, and I talk about hundreds of sales executives and sales managers, I've learned that our 5 steps work in terms of developing salespeople to improve their competencies. So why is it revolutionary? And as I mentioned, most programs are 1 to 2 days. You may have signed up for some of them. This is not your average program. Okay, many programs are online. This is an online program, but instead, we also arm you with not only the video training, we arm you with one-on-one coaching over a 6-month period. We do pre and post coaching effectiveness assessments as done by your salespeople, and we provide you coaching tools and templates to really help you get there. So if we look at the ongoing learning curve, let's see if I can get a pencil here. Pen. So this is the traditional approach where you've just taken a course, and then we find within 30 days you've pretty much lost 90% of what you've learned, and you know what, as time goes on, it diminishes and there's really no effect. What we've developed is, yes, we'll train you, but each time you start to go down, there's a coaching session. Then there's another coaching session. Then there's tools that you can use. Then we have group learning opportunities. So the goal of what we create is for you to master the skill of coaching, not for you to just understand how to coach, but to actually do it. So here's how it works. Oops, I gotta get rid of this pen. Okay, I'm stuck in a loop here, so let's try. Nope. Okay. Oops. Okay, so this is stuck on my screen. That's fun with working with pencils. It's like the kids. So let's get back and be serious here. Okay? You all with me? I'm going to run through a month-by-month approach to our program. Okay, first month, it's really about benchmarking your coaching skills, and we conduct an online survey with your reps. You get an 18-page report outlining your coaching strengths, areas for development, and potential blind spots. After the first month, you'll begin to employ new effective leadership strategies that you've learned from our online module. Use new powerful leadership techniques, so you're moving away from micromanaging and telling people what to do. You're starting to build a higher level of trust with your team. You're seeing less conflict and more honest communication. Okay, there must be a way to erase this. Erase all drawings. Ah, there we go. Look at me, Mr. Tech Savvy. Month 2, we're going to work with you to create an individual coaching plan. Okay? You get the opportunity to practice what you're doing in terms of new ways of leading and communicating with your team. It doesn't come easy at first, and that's why we guide you through the process. So by the end of month 2, you'll have a personalized plan and a plan to effectively communicate with your salespeople in a more new style approach. We'll set clear targets on what to work on with each team member, and you'll start to work with a personalized approach with your team, not a one-size-fits-all. And you'll have a framework to lead your team each day to improve performance. In month, whoops, did we skip ahead a month? Okay, in month 3, the key of month 3 is you'll finalize your coaching and development plans for each of your reps. We'll work with you to make sure each of your plans will help your sales reps improve performance. By the end, expect to be focused on each of your sales reps who have improved performance. Increase the performance of each member of your team. You'll start to see greater rep engagement, greater confidence as a leader, and you'll start to actually feel more fulfilled about your job as a coach. In month 4, we're going to work on closing the accountability loop. Okay, and that's really, as I talked about, one of the key things to coaching. You'll become a complete coach and set expectations that your reps are accountable for their own development. So by the end of month 4, your salespeople will be doing and will be following up and doing what they say they'll do. You'll see improvements in rep skills and performance. There's much greater level of trust to be developed, and you'll start to see your team not only hitting but surpassing their goals. By month 5, we pull it all together, and we help you develop a coaching plan in terms of time allocation between your reps, and how much time you're going to spend in the field. Okay, so we see managers already in stride by month 5, hitting or increasing sales numbers. Sales reps are starting to improve. You start to feel like you're on top of your game as a manager. And really what you've now moved from whatever environment there was before to a much more engaged, open team environment. By month 6, we're going to be ready to send you off. You'd have applied your learnings. We've reinforced the concepts, and you're going to know how to be a master coach. Coaching is going to become your new norm. And many managers who start to embrace this start to get much greater job satisfaction. And by the end of the program, as we said, coaching improves sales rep engagement. You're going to see improved sales rep engagement, improved sales rep performance. You're going to be working less hours, okay? Crushing your sales numbers month over month, which is a great feeling and relieves many frustrations. So, I realize, and let's just take a step back, this program's not for everyone. But if you feel like it's your year to invest in yourself, I want to make sure it's easy for you to get on board. And what I've done to entice folks who have signed up for my webinar is to offer some really cool bonuses. Because our goal is to help you crush your sales quotas every single month. So number 1, we're going to throw in a free coaching effectiveness snapshot, which costs $500. We're going to give you some really cool tools, a field visit report, a coaching planner so you can build coaching plans for your reps, and a coaching journey which will help allocate your time in the field. So how can we work together? Number 1, I just ran through with you what the STAR Sales Manager Development Program looks like. And it's a combination, which I believe, of best-in-class learning. Okay? You get assessments pre and post. How are you doing as a coach prior to training, and then post coaching and learning. So we're going to do one before month 1 and after month 6. You have access to 6 months or 6-month access to our video training module, which takes you through the 5 steps. And I'm going to provide personalized one-on-one coaching with you every month over the course of 6 months. Okay, that's a really exciting program. If you say, hey, you know what, I want to take a different approach, I want more intense coaching, certainly we can develop a one-on-one specific coaching program for you. And many folks who may be heads of sales and say, hey, we want to develop a team approach here and we want to bring in our whole team, we can be on site and doing virtual training and coaching. And really we'll try to understand what best fits your needs. So I guess you're wondering, there's a cost to everything in life, and what's the cost here? And when I work with large corporations, Fortune 500 companies, I run similar programs for their sales managers, which cost thousands of dollars per manager. Over the last 3 years, I've worked with Fortune 500 companies like Allergan, Novartis, and have helped their sales managers grow their business by millions of dollars using the same strategies and methodology that you're going to get in the STAR Sales Manager Development Program. I remember when I was a sales manager, there was no money to invest in my development. So it was a challenge to figure out ways to grow on my own. For everyone on the call, I'd like to offer you a similar program, but make it highly affordable. So for $2,500, which will be the cost of this program, you get 6 months of coaching, 6 months of online access, pre and post assessments, okay, and you get tools to help you reinforce your coaching approach. I'm going to coach you the same way I coach my Fortune 500 companies and help make you much better. So let me share with you a couple of folks that I've worked with and what they have to say. You don't have to take my word for it, but I'm going to throw up a couple testimonials or case studies that we've had. And Mike, who's a great sales manager, is one of the most personable guys I know. He's extremely open, he's focused, and he's really open on being the best sales leader he could be. And he's one of these guys, like many of us, who've advanced through his organization as a top sales rep to a manager. But Mike was struggling to meet corporate expectations. He had no training or development until he took our program. And interestingly enough, he quickly addressed his biggest coaching issues almost in our first month, and was able to coach his reps and drive performance. He went from missing his sales numbers over the last 2 years to blowing his numbers away. Mike was a highly satisfied client. Okay. Another one who I've enjoyed working with is Mary Helen. She's a regional sales manager and basically walked in as one of the team members to coach her team. And the team was in turmoil. There was a manager there who was incredibly sort of the Donald Trump approach of the my way or the highway, and we helped her create a high level of engagement and improve performance of her team. In her first year, she was a top performing region with double-digit growth. She was recognized with a leadership award and one of the top performer trip along with some of her reps. And she became a much more effective coach, team performance improved, and sales soared by millions of dollars. I continue to work with her. So I put it back to you. If you're serious, then go to www.starresults.com/apply. I'd like to speak with you and see if you're a good fit for the program, because not everyone's going to be a good fit. We're not looking for any money now. We want to make sure that you're right for the program. There's a limited number of spots available. We want to make sure we have the best people who can benefit the most from it. So think about it. I don't know how much bonus you can make, if it's $5, $10, $20, $40, $50,000, but to invest $2,500 in yourself with no risk, because we offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied, you get your money back, no questions asked. So I put it to you. You've listened to me for the last hour. Hopefully you've gotten some really good stuff you can take away and apply. But if you're really serious and making this year, we've got 4 months left this year, and next year a great year, then I suggest you sign up. We'll have a good chat for a half hour and see what your goals are and how you want to develop. So take this link down. AJ will be putting it up towards the end, and I welcome the opportunity to speak with you, understand your challenges, and see how we can help you become a great sales leader and drive performance. Thank you, and I really want to take the time now to open up for questions. So if you have any questions, please type them in, and AJ, if you can kindly, I think I can click on the questions, but
I got you.
if you can certainly maybe read them off and.
Yeah. So there's a question from Mark here, and it's a really good question. So he's saying that he doesn't have any direct reports, right? But rather he has someone that management has assigned to him to help prospect. But unfortunately, it's done off the corner of that person's desk rather than a full-time attention needed. And I think a lot of people are going to relate to this. And so Mark has gently asked this person to reach a certain goals, but they're not really getting where they need to be. So he's asking, how should they address this in the next meeting that he has with her to start getting some progress? So it sounds like, he's managing this person. She's not hitting her goals. He's trying to help her, but it's not getting anywhere. What should he do for the next meeting?
I got it. Okay, Mark, thank you for that question. And, we talked about the power of coaching. And again, if you think of the 5 steps that I shared, I'm not sure what the lady's name is, but some of it's a question of sitting down with her and seeing, where she's at, if she's having any challenges, and run her through the 5-step process of asking questions, getting her to self-evaluate, asking her what she's committed to do or committed to working on, and work with her to build a plan. So maybe it means, hey, I need to make 20% more calls in a day. Well, let's write that down. How are you going to do that? Let's write that down. And then it's about coming back each month when she's committed to a program to seeing how she's doing, asking questions, not getting frustrated with her, and really getting her tuned into achieving her goals. But she needs to commit to whatever improvement that she feels is necessary to be a better prospector.
Perfect. And I'm just going through some more here. Okay, here's one from Chris. Let's see. How does he address the naysayers who have an attitude? Like, we've been there, we've done that, it doesn't work.
You get a lot of those people, right? And they tend to be older sales reps. And I don't mean to pick on the older, but you know, they probably have been there and they probably have done it. So one of the keys is they're probably saying that because you're telling them to do something they don't want to do. So to me, it doesn't start with saying, hey, you guys need to be doing that, right? Because that's the old telling approach. What it starts with is talking about what's the goal and getting their insights how they can get there, right? Because again, nobody wants to be told what to do. So one, it depends how important the change is within the organization, but if it's trying new things, then we need to ask them questions. We need to find out, what are they prepared to do? What do they think would make a difference? Yes, you've tried that. Tell me how you can make it work, as opposed to, no, can't do that. I had someone who kept telling me, no, I can't do that. Well, I said, oh, I guess I've got to get somebody who can. So sometimes sales reps, you know, take the approach that they put themselves out of a job because they're not open to change. And really, change comes from taking people through the 4 steps and you know, 5 steps, asking them, really getting to evaluate where are they going to focus to make their sales numbers, and then how are they going to get there. So what do they need to do? Why? We talked about the internal motivation. We can talk about that more, but it's really about getting them to build their own plan of how they're going to achieve the sales goals, which you're tied to anyways.
Awesome. And follow up on Mark, the lady that he was talking about. What if it's your boss? Like, if the person that you need to talk to is your boss, how do you work that one?
Well, I mean, part of what we do to be successful, and our salespeople who report to us as managers need to coach us as bosses, right? I mean, coaching is a two-way street. And if it's his boss, obviously you want to be a little bit more gentle, but you know, the question becomes the same. Your boss is tied to your goals. If your boss has assumed the role of doing prospecting, then again, if you're going to tell her what to do, I don't think she's going to be very pleased with you, but maybe sitting down and brainstorming as to what we can do to achieve whatever prospecting goal you're trying to achieve. If it's more calls, more warm leads, and getting a commitment from your boss, how much time she's going to put in, what she's committed to doing to helping you achieve your goals. So, you know, in life, you know, we have to coach sideways. We have to coach the people who report to us, and in many ways, we have to coach the people that we report to. So go get them, Mark.
And so here's another question. I think this is an interesting question. What if, like, you know, so there's this person is saying they see that coaching is valuable and they could see that it could add to the net profits, but they don't believe that it would not help them increase their revenues if the market is down, or if they're having to like compete with importing from, let's say, the products from China and North America or something. So I don't know if you can really talk about this or not, but I think it's a very interesting question.
Well, I guess at the end of the day, you know, there's only certain things as a sales manager you can control. Okay, if your pricing is out of whack because of cheaper imports, that's an additional problem. I assume you're still in business and you're still making sales. And at the end of the day, you have salespeople that you employ that cost you probably, you know, quite a few dollars to employ them. So what we're trying to do as sales leaders is get the best out of our people to be able to achieve the highest level of sales that we can achieve. And that, as you agree, is done through effective coaching. So, you know, if you're not effectively coaching, well, you're not optimizing or maximizing your sales rep performance, regardless of some of the uncontrollables. So my message to you is you've got to focus on what you can control. Your salespeople need to focus on what they can control. And if you can help your salespeople get better at what they do, you're going to drive more sales. So if you buy into that concept, which has been proven, regardless of your market conditions, you're at least going to be maximizing your sales within your organization.
Awesome.
And customers don't always buy on price. I think that's a fallacy.
I would totally agree with that. I know for me, for instance, I don't buy on price. I buy based on customer service and trust and respect. I'm willing to pay a little bit more to have those things.
100%. And the CEB did a study, and the number one factor that drives customer loyalty is the buying experience.
Yes.
So I just went out and paid $4.69 for a Starbucks coffee, but I was spoken to nicely.
Yeah.
I do like the coffee, and McDonald's across the street pretty much has a similar coffee, but I like the Starbucks experience. So maybe I'm addicted to it as well. But the point being is we can make a difference as salespeople. And if we don't believe that and we don't try to do that, then we're in the wrong profession.
Great. And here's a question from Chelsea, and this is a really, really, really good question. So she's working in a corporation that doesn't give an ounce of support to the frontline managers. And she said it's really starting to show there in their business. So what approach would you take to start presenting this type of program to the upper management to convince them that, hey, company, it's worth you investing in this because this is the results you're going to get?
That's a great question. And it's interesting, Chelsea, because I don't know your company, but I bet you some of the senior folks have never been coached. They've moved up through their own wits or whatever. They've been able to move up through the organization. So they're still working with maybe the my way or the highway approach, or the pay for performance, which we know they're not sustainable. In terms of information to share with them and present, I'm happy to speak to your senior leaders, but I'm also happy to provide you with some studies. One that we did, which is very eye-opening, but some major corporations like the Corporate Executive Board have done studies on coaching. And if you just call me, book an appointment, or drop me a note, again, I'd be happy to arm you with really good information, because I believe that there are too many sales managers who are not getting the support they deserve. And if they're not getting that, companies are not performing. So if senior management, which in many cases, the challenge in most organizations in terms of performance is not your sales reps, but it's the management level. And to me, it's so clear that this is a step that top organizations take to drive performance, that your organization may be missing the boat, and then they're sitting in a room saying, why are we not hitting sales? So, give me a call. Let's set up a time, and I'm happy to give you some resources to send off to senior management and maybe, get them interested. The other thing where the company doesn't buy in or do support is I say, hey, you know what, if your company's not going to do it, you can sit back and wait, or you can be proactive. And myself, I'm a solo entrepreneur. I run my own business. And if I'm not investing in developing myself, then I become a dinosaur. So you've really got two options. I'm happy to share with you some really great information that we share with senior managers. But if you want to make a difference yourself and demonstrate the impact, then we would give you an option here of finding out more about the course and seeing if it's for you.
Awesome. And here's another question, really good. So this person, I believe his name is Subramiyan. It's hard for me to say, but I'm glad you're here. But his question is, they recruit fresh graduates, so they have no sales experience. So how do you recommend they start the coaching process with complete newbies?
Well, that's a great question. So I assume if your company hires new graduates, which is not bad because they don't come with any baggage, a lot of companies spend a lot of time and effort training them on how to sell and product knowledge. And if that's a starting base, and maybe you want to respond if it is or it isn't, but if you are doing some training to get them up to speed, some onboarding training, then you coach to that. Okay, if it's a selling skills model that you've rolled out to your salespeople, then work on those components of what they've learned. If it's product knowledge, work with those components that they want to get better at. It's about constant improvement. So it doesn't matter if they're newbies. It helps if you have at least some baseline as to how to sell, and then you can coach to that. But if it's other things that they've learned, coach to what they know to help them get better at what's going to make them successful.
Beautiful. And I know, a lot of people have questions. Stephen, you've been doing this a long time. I've been doing it with you. So how long is it going to take these people to see results, whether they're working with newbies or mid-time, whatever? Like, how long is it going to take them to see results when working with you?
Well, you know what? People start to see things in the first month that we've worked together. I've had managers, and we've started off with, what is your biggest coaching challenge? And if we can solve that in the first month, think of all the things you can solve. I've had many folks we've been able to have great impact right out the gates. Depending on how big your team is, you can certainly start getting impact. The key is getting out there. You don't have to spend time during the day to learn our methodology. You can do it at your leisure. You can come back and forth. So honestly, you can see results in 1 month. Maybe not sales results, but in terms of improving where your reps are going and what they're doing. And depending on how long your selling cycle is, certainly from a behavioral and competency perspective, results are somewhat immediate.
Awesome. And here's Sarah from Anaheim. Really good question. She's asking if you have worked, like you specifically, Stephen, have you worked with managers at a company where top management is very resistant to change? So she's at a place where her team and herself, they're looking for new ways to improve performance, and they're really open to implementing like some new methods, but the senior management is the biggest obstacle to be able to create that change. So any words of wisdom so they can get the ball rolling there?
Well, that's a really interesting question, and I really like to know a little bit more, Sarah. So feel free to reach out to me, and we can talk about that. You know, it's always interesting that it seems like senior management is always the obstacle to improvement, and sometimes it's middle management or sales reps. One of the ways that I use with companies who say, hey, you know what, we're not sure. You know, we kind of like what you're saying, but we're not sure. I always think if you pilot something in one region and have success, then it opens up management to try things. And that may be a way that you can employ in your own organization, is by trying new things within one specific area, one region where you can control and see whatever you're trying new is well implemented, and gauge what the impact is, because it's very hard to argue with results. When you speak conceptually, sometimes senior management, I was a senior manager, but I was always pushing the envelope. How can we do better? How can we do better? What else can we do? And I looked to my people to bring those answers to me because I wasn't that close. So it doesn't sound like senior management is very open to listening to the people who really drive performance. And I may have not said this at the beginning of the webinar, but I say it over and over again. The frontline sales manager, which sounds like you're one of those, Sarah, are the key people in sales organizations that drive performance. They're the key. So if you want to get great performance, build a strong frontline sales management team. So I can help you in a couple of ways. One, as I offered earlier to, I think it was Chelsea, that if you want some information to share with senior management, if you want to chat, I'm open to help you move things forward in your company.
Yeah, and I just want to take a moment. It's a great answer, Stephen. Just a shout out to Chelsea. Thanks for going ahead and booking that appointment. She just said that she's a confirmed appointment for next week.
Oh, wow. I look forward to chatting with you. That's great.
That's awesome. So for other people who have the opportunity, want the opportunity, take this time. Stephen's cleared his calendar. He's just going to connect with you, see where you're at, see what you have going on, and see how he can get management on board if you need decision makers to make the decision. Set up a time to talk to Stephen. He's a really good guy. He's also going to be able to meet you where you're at and be able to help you come up with a game plan. And Steve, another question here is, we're talking about coaching, and sometimes coaching is kind of this ethereal kind of thing that's kind of hard to wrap people's mind around. So how does this program really, really work?
You know what? It's very interesting because I'm a very practical guy. I'm not theoretical. I even will say I'm not that strategic. But tactically, I'm great. And I've developed this system, and I work with my clients following the same methodology, and it creates change. It's not complicated. There's nuances to it, but the fact is, if you follow the 5 steps, you're going to see change in people. The American Society of Development and Training talked about how it references to coaching and accountability. So it does work. I know it works. I've been doing it since 2005. That's actually 11 years now. We've refined it. We work with hundreds of sales managers and sales executives to help them become better coaches. Sometimes the people are the challenge because they're not always open to coaching, but certainly it'll help you move your people forward. And one of the beauties of being able to not just get the theory, and I don't think it's very theoretical, it's very practical, but what we do is we help you implement it. And I don't think there's any other company that does it, because we're not a training company, we're a coaching company. And we teach coaches how to coach, and we coach them to do it. So what's different about our program is that when you run into a roadblock in month one, we're going to speak to you in month one, and I'm personally going to help you work through it. It kind of reminds me of an analogy. You know, I was in the corporate world, and I wasn't the greatest of golfers. So every year when we have our big meeting with customers, I would take golfing lessons. And I would actually start to figure out, you know, how to swing, how to move my hips, and then I do it in the dome because we had winters here, and you know, I would kind of get it. Then I'd go out, you know, I'd be all excited. I went to Arizona to golf, and I kept, you know, chucking the ball to the right or to the left. The problem is the coach that worked with me inside the dome didn't come with me to Arizona. Right? I learned it, but then I went out and I forgot the first time I went to golf. So the key is what I believe, and I showed that chart, that as humans, as adults, when we learn, we need to be brought back. And that's why I strongly believe that if you want to become a master at any skill, coaching is the key to do that. And what we've implemented in this program is 6 months to help you course navigate, to help you work through nuances, because we work with people. So it's not always one size fits all. And really that's the key to becoming a great coach, is working with someone who would help get you there.
And I know a lot of people, Stephen, you know, they're busy. So how much time are they going to have to invest in this program to get results?
Okay. Again, you know, results come from investing time. We've built the program. I guess there's several components to the program. One being the on-demand virtual training, which you can watch. There's 9 chapters. You can watch them 3 minutes at a time, or however long the chapters are. You can do that every evening for 5 minutes after dinner, or after the kids go to bed. We will interact with you, and we use a process called laser coaching, which is a half hour every month. And we work through specific issues. I'm not going to, and please don't be insulted, I'm not going to spend a lot of time saying, how are you doing? How's the family? We're going to focus on implementing the program. So if you can call me from the car, I don't care, while you're driving home, we can work through on a monthly basis what challenges you're facing and have a plan of action for the next month of how to overcome whatever challenges you're having implementing the system.
Awesome. And we talked about, like, you know, this is definitely for like sales managers. Is this program for only sales managers, or who is this program really, you know, perfect for?
I mean, we've designed it for sales managers, and I bet you if you're a sales manager, you know, your next level of sales management is probably not, and you know, I can't say what percentage, is probably not doing an effective job coaching you. Okay, if you're also someone who is a marketer, because we work with marketers as well to help them, if it's a director of marketing, help them coach their people. So the reality is that if you're in business and you have people reporting to you, you can greatly benefit from our program.
Awesome.
I love sales managers and I love sales, and hence we've built it for the sales manager, because the beauty of this is you can track performance much easier than any other role.
And I mean, this could also, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, Stephen, but not just sales manager. I mean, this could be like that sales executive or that VP of sales. Like, it's anybody in that sales / management role.
100%.
Awesome.
You're right. And what we do from a corporate level is we don't just work with the frontline sales manager, we'll work with all levels of sales management, because not only do we help, but if your boss is also part of the process, you can help reinforce the coaching approach. And the more reinforcement it gets, the better people get at doing it. And I know many sales executives who I work with, you know, maybe we'll have people discussions, but it comes down to coaching discussions.
So last question here, this is from Roger, and we'll wrap this puppy up. So in North America, and in your opinion, how many companies are using the coaching over the original method of, you know, management?
Well, that's a great question. I'm not sure how to answer that, because I'll tell you what I do know. And we just finished a study, and I'm not here to promote my study, but it is available for free, called the STAR Sales Manager Report. And maybe what we'll do is we'll actually mail it to everyone who's attended. Is we know that 50% of companies are providing ongoing training and support to their sales managers, coaching being one of those areas. 50% are not. And we also looked at coaching methodology and asked our participants in our study, does your company have a highly effective, well understood coaching methodology? And only 40% agreed and said, yes, our company does. So if I were to venture to guess, it's probably in the neighborhood of half the companies are and half the companies aren't. That's probably my closest split. So, you can look at this as the glass is half full or the glass is half empty. It depends on what side of the equation you're on. I think it was Chelsea, or maybe Sarah, that said their company's providing no support to their sales managers. And I think their company is missing the boat. I'm not saying they have to use me. I'm saying these are the key people that drive performance in your organization. If you're teaching them how to coach, because coaching is the #1 sales management activity that drives performance. So if you're not helping your managers become better coaches, there is no way that you're optimizing the impact of your sales force.
Beautiful. So, Stephen, that's all of the questions for today. If you just want to go wrap this up, tell everybody, go schedule a time to talk with you. I know you have limited spots on your calendar, but you had made your calendar available to everybody. So, guys, just go to starresults.com/apply. But other than that, Stephen, you can go ahead and wrap up, brother.
Well, AJ, it's always a pleasure working with you. Thank you for keeping me on track. And again, I'm a very open individual. I'm happy to speak to any of you with no obligation. But if I can help you, I'd be happy to do so, whether it be providing information or if you really feel that you're ready to, to take the next step and become a great coach. I know I can make a difference for you. And we're doing it in a way that allows individual sales managers to basically invest in themselves, because I think the best investment you can make is in yourself and your career. So, I have put time aside, and I really do want to speak to folks who've taken the time to listen. Click on the link, book a time, let's get to know each other, and then we'll take it from there. Have yourselves a great rest of the week, and thank you for participating. It was great.